Now, the crucial statement that Bell makes is that, in fact, it's worth. I'll read it. Fixing, it says A or A prime. This is a 0 or 1. This is the output, that determines the measurement setting. Fixing A or A prime indeed fixes something about the input, i.e., whether the millionth digit is odd or even. Now, this is the crucial statement. But this peculiar piece of information is unlikely to be the vital piece for any distinctively different purpose, i.e., it is otherwise rather useless. So the point is this, that we've got, we're doing this experiment in a world where, the moons are, to use the example again, the moons are going around Jupiter and various other things are happening. People are going for a walk in the park and stuff, is happening. His point, which is a kind of, it's a reasonable point. I'm not saying it's not reasonable, but I'm claiming that in the context of quantum mechanics, it is questionable. But his point is that all these other things, the moons of Jupiter, the people going for a walk in the park, the value of the millionth digit is irrelevant. They just carry on their lives. And of course, that's the sort of thing that you would expect to be true if the world was governed, say, by Newtonian physics, or indeed by most simple dynamical systems, because you can take an initial condition where, somebody's about to go into the park, where the moon is about to take in a particular phase of the orbit, keep all that stuff fixed and vary the millionth digit. And that's a perfectly reasonable perturbed initial condition, and you can carry on solving your Newtonian equations with that slightly different initial condition. So that is a kind of scientific statement, if you like, or a scientific justification for Bell's what he calls his reasonable assumption that the millionth digit is unlikely to be by the way, note the word unlikely, not definitely not, unlikely to be the vital piece of for any distinctively different purpose. So already there's a kind of an implicit reference to the fact that this millionth digit is a free variable, in the sense it can be twiddled, it can change, you can keep everything else fixed, you can just twiddle that thing and the world will continue. But I want to come back to my example.
I'm not. Where do you see twiddling in this? I mean, he says it's unlikely to be. I mean, I have it in front of me as well.
Yeah,
unlikely to be the vital piece of for any distinctively different purpose, i.e., otherwise rather useless. Right. I take it what he means there is that conditioning on that fact, not asking what would have been the case if it had been different, but just conditioning on that gives you no information, no useful information about anything else. It'll tell you a very important thing in the physical world, namely, did Alice pick X or Y in that run? It'll absolutely tell you that important physical fact, but it won't. It just won't give you any information. It doesn't really have to do with determinism.
Sure. I mean, nobody
won't change the likelihood that Jupiter's moons are in any particular phase. It won't change the likelihood that people are walking in the park. It won't change the likelihood in that or have any effect on anything else in terms of the statistics.
But but Tim, this is the whole point I'm trying to make. I can, and I do, claim to have a mathematical model where, and it's just a generalization of the example that I discussed with Lorenz's attractor, where you can't change the millionth digit of one of the variables and keep the others fixed.
But he doesn't say you can do that.
It leads you to
this passage doesn't say you can do that.
It says it's
not a useful piece of information for any distinctively
different purpose. In other words, if you change that information,
you keep saying in other words.
No, I'm trying to.
You keep saying in other words, but he doesn't talk about changing it. He just says it's not useful information for any other purpose.
the whole paper is about free variables, and a free variable is something that you can change in your theory. That's the whole basis of the paper. Free. What does free mean? If it doesn't mean you can't change it, then it has no meaning.
If you enjoyed that clip, then the full podcast is out right now. You can click around here, as well as subscribe to get notified. Enjoy. Brand new full-length podcasts every Tuesday at 2 p.m. on Theories of Everything.